Yo, 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 what up? Good morning. Grateful for another maggot-free day above the dirt. Jersey Lake at the Jersey Shore. I don't know if you could see it in the video, but there's a very cool kind of cloudy mist rising from the lake, and it's just very cool. So, today's video is called We Always Are Meditating. And, you know, people get caught in the trap of saying, okay, I'm going to meditate. And this is said in the context of an isolated moment where, you know, they go to an altar, they go to a cushion, a special place set up in their house, or they go to a specific spot in nature, like a lake or the beach or the mountains or wherever, and set aside time to meditate. And, you know, sometimes the most important teachings are so obvious we miss them. But, you know, it really doesn't make logical sense to say, I'm going to set aside time to go meditate. Now, intellectually, we all understand why we say that and why we do that, of course. But the reality is, by making that statement, it begs the question, well, what are we doing with all the other time? If we're setting time aside to go meditate, how are we utilizing the other 23 and a half hours or 23 hours or 23 hours and 57 minutes, right? And the reality is, and I know the anticipation of what I'm about to say is that, well, we should be taking every moment as a mindful meditative moment and be present and aware and bring into our consciousness, you know, the real-time present moment. And that's true. But I'm going to hit this from a different angle, which is we are always meditating because our mind is always placed on something. So in what I'm presenting today, it doesn't necessarily mean that when we're meditating all the time, it's a positive thing. What I mean is we need to be aware that whatever our mind is placed on, whatever our focus is placed on, whatever we're holding in our mind, we are meditating on. So, you know, in one sense, we can define meditation as just, you know, a holding of an object or a subject, subject meaning mental state, an acute focus. So while we might be setting time aside to go meditate on our cushion, at our altar, in our temple room, whatever, you know, out in nature, with others, our mind might be holding something very positive, healthy, and wholesome, whether it be a teaching or just a positive affirmation or whatever might be going on. But it's positive and healthy and wholesome, generally, when we choose to set aside time to meditate. But the rest of the time, if a guy cuts me off and I get angry and I'm holding on to that anger and resentment, and I might even be flipping the bird or cursing or yelling and screaming in my car, that's my meditation. That's what I'm holding in my mind. If I'm triggered and I'm holding on to a past memory about something traumatic or something painful, that's my meditation. That's what I'm holding in my mind. That's what I'm meditating on. So think about how many, I forget the number, Buddhism has a number of how many moments in a day, and I'm not even going to guess at it, but I think it was like 84 million, I don't know what it was, but we have so many split millisecond moments that we're meditating. And the more we're meditating, holding our mind, placing our mind on something unhealthy, delusional, unwholesome, one of the poisons, greed, hatred, delusion. That's what we're feeding our mind. That's what we're consuming, and that's going to overtake our mind states and consciousness. And that's kind of why we end up needing to set aside time for meditation, right? That's the vicious circle of it. Our mind is placed on unwholesome, unhealthy, delusional things constantly, almost solely throughout maybe a day. And then we find ourselves wanting to get home and set aside time to meditate, to relieve ourselves from the consequences of holding our mind on all these harmful things. And it says in the teachings that what we hold our mind on in the last moment of our life will determine what happens in our next life. Now, I'm not going to go into reincarnation. You either believe it or not. It doesn't matter. And I'm not going to tell you what I believe, because it really does not matter. That's subjective to each of us. There's a Buddhist story where 3 different students asked the Buddha, what happens when you die? And the Buddha says, you're reborn, you're reincarnated. The Buddha says, nothing. And the Buddha says, I don't know. And that each answer is different, but it's appropriate for each student, what they needed to hear. So, but what I'm saying is, whether you believe you're going to move on to another life, or as I tend to keep it, where each new moment is a new life, where my mind is at in the previous moment, what I'm holding on to, what I'm meditating on, is going to determine how the next moment plays out. And this is huge, because it puts the responsibility of our relationship with the material world, of how we respond or react or choose between those two, going under the premise that a reaction is harmful and a response is healthy. There's no more blame. There's no more aversion or bypassing our responsibility in everything we experience. And people don't like to hear, like, well, if you're suffering from something, you chose that. But in essence, if we're holding on to a certain mind state, and that determines how we're acting, then we are making that choice. Granted, there's a lot of subtle reasons that happens, and it's not to blame ourselves, but it's to realize the part we play in that process, right? So, yes, setting aside meditation at a special time in a special place is imperatively important. It's natural. It's practice, but realize why we do it. Is it to go deeper because we're meditating all day in a healthy, wholesome way, and we're adding to that? Or is it some kind of remedy for not meditating all day? Or better yet, is it a remedy for the fact that we're meditating on harmful, unhealthy subjects, mind states, all day? And we've literally caused the problem that we're now seeking to remedy. So we're always meditating. Anything in your mind, if you're stuck in it and you're holding it, is a meditation. So there's good meditation or healthy meditation, and there's bad, unhealthy meditation. But realize when the mind is focused, it's a meditation. So be careful what we focus on. That's really the message. So have a grateful, maggot-free day above the dirt, Jersey Shore. I'll give you another view of the lake. I hope you can see the really cool mist rising. Peace out.